Good evening and welcome to Talking Devils podcast, brought to you by talkingthedevils.co.uk. I'm your host, Reece Russell. Joined me tonight is, of course, a good friend of mine and Ajax fan Sahbi, live from Amsterdam. Sahbi, how are you this evening?
I'm doing great. I mean, as an Ajax fan, we won today. It was poor to see, but we won. Bad result from your side, so that's quite unfortunate, huh?
Yeah, we're just gonna. So I can't really blank it as much. It was a really poor game today. And it was just circumstantial. That was a team that just on the day just far more clinical than we were, and our defence just disappeared. But at least for you, it's a good response. Obviously, the Dutch Cup final at the weekend was far more uncircumstantial for yourself. I was hoping that you would have won that game, but
very unfortunate.
But it is how it is. Of course, it's just as circumstantial. But at least you got the 3 points in response for yourselves, and of course, Sahbi is a lifelong Ajax fan who I've spoken to before. On a different channel, so it's great to bring him on the Talk of the Devils, where we can talk specifically about the new Manchester United manager, Erik Ten Hag.
Yeah, congratulations.
You must be well gutted.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we already knew this was coming.
Yeah.
I was disappointed like weeks ago, but we already knew it. He would be the next coach of United.
Yeah,
and he deserves it. I mean, he did very well for us, and he will show it to the United fans as well that he will do great things there.
Absolutely. And before we dive in, because I know I've asked you numerous questions before, there's going to be some slightly rehashed in a different way. And circumstance, obviously, recent results, it'd be great to ask you this. But I just want to dive into the comments first. So, Ajmal saying he's back and Ajax was as bad as us today. Well, we'll get Sahbi's opinion on that in a few moments. All I can say is Ajax did win 1-0. Although for a clinical team like they should be doing better. There is now 8 people watching. I was about to say 6, but there's now 8 people watching. Talking Devils podcast tonight. If you can hit like, share, and subscribe, and also for We Talk Ajax, which is the channel that Sahbi's on. Same for them. It'd be most appreciated, and obviously give our channels a follow on social media like Twitter, Facebook, whichever you use. Gives the channel more coverage, allows you to get more content, especially for the channel and for your viewership. It's great content daily as well. And also live from Norway, we got Hella, evening gents. So we may as well deep dive into it. Ten Hag, for anyone who isn't aware, Ten Hag obviously is the now soon to be coming in very shortly Manchester United manager, but at the moment, until 4 games time, he is the Ajax manager. For anybody that's not an Ajax fan who has never watched Ten Hag in a play football or even coach football, this would be the perfect opportunity to get, because Sahbi, being an Ajax fan, will give you far more information, deep dive than anyone else could. So Sahbi, just for anyone watching that may not have seen Ten Hag's style of football before, can you give us an analysis of his style and how he can bring it to Manchester United in a different style league compared to the Eredivisie?
Yeah, I mean, Ten Hag stands for attacking football. He likes to play in a 4-3-3 formation, normally in a 4-2-3-1 formation, where our wingers play quite wide and cut inside for shootings or for passes. We play a lot of pressuring football, so we try to pressure as soon as possible. That's why we try to play a little bit deep as our defenders. So we're not like sitting back as United currently does, but we try to move as deep as possible. We play with quite inverted fullbacks, so our fullbacks go quite deep. They cut inside. They support our midfield. So our backlines are more of footballers instead of real defenders. So we got Nous Mazraoui on the right and Daley Blind currently on the left. So they're real footballers. They help the midfield. They help the build up of our team. So and mainly attractive football, like fun to watch football. We try to conquer the ball, to recover the ball as soon as possible. So our defense starts actually from the striker position, and our build up starts from the keeper, because we have a keeper who needs to distribute the ball, who needs to be a real footballer, who knows how to pass, not only how to keep. So yeah, it's more of a total football from Ten Hag, and that's why it takes time for him to implement this, because it's quite hard, it's quite difficult, especially if you want to play with players who change positions during the game, and the defensive midfielder who tries to build up from the back. We have a box-to-box midfielder who knows how to defend and to attack. Yeah, it's great, and the pressure starts always from the front, always from the striker position.
And in your system, because obviously, as you said, it's generally like a 4-3-3, but it's based around a 4-2-3-1, and when you attack from a defensive transition, it's a 2-3-5. How does he use number 10s? I know we've spoken about this. Me and you've spoken about this briefly before, but for anyone else watching, in a Ten Hag system, what does he do to get the best out of, say, a number 10? Is it more free roaming, like as a classic total football style, or is it central to one area, but they're just deployed to provide creativity? How does a number 10 generally work?
Well, currently we have two types of number 10s in our squad. We have Berghuis and we have Klaassen. If we talk about Berghuis, that's a typical 10, which Ten Hag really likes. And that's a player who walks freely. He goes to the right, he goes to the left. He tries to link up with the striker, has excellent passes, can do a 1-2, has shots from distance. So that's the type of football which Ten Hag likes. Currently, because of the injury of Antony, we have Klaassen who's playing in a 10 position. And he's a different player. He's a player who stays a bit in the penalty area. He tries to assist the striker more. So he's not really the player who gives the last pass, but he's a type of player who can score certain goals. So he scores a bit more than a type of Berghuis. But Berghuis creates more space and chances for other players. So Ten Hag really likes the Berghuis type of player. So exactly the same as what Bruno Fernandes currently does. You could see him everywhere, and he has that nice pass to the striker. He has a nice shot. So that would be definitely a player which Ten Hag would like.
Absolutely. And I've got one more question before I bring into the live chat, because there is a question for you, Sahbi. I think it'd be fantastic for you to respond to. In terms of floating players, obviously you compared like Berghuis to Bruno Fernandes as a floating player, and Klaassen, who is more of a stick to the box penalty area in a circumstantial way, is actually really effective. If you didn't watch the Dutch Cup final, for example, I know like me and Sahbi did, Klaassen had a fantastic goal ruled offside because of Dusan Tadic being more offside than most players I've seen all season. Is there anyone in our squad that you, from yourself looking in, do you think maybe similar to Klaassen? Not in the sense of in the sense of that manner. Instead of like, obviously you said Berghuis is more like Fernandes for us. Who would you say is similar to Klaassen in our squad, do you think?
Yeah, it should be a player who's more static, so who doesn't really freewheel a lot into the pitch. So it's difficult to say. I don't think you really have such a player in your squad that could
not very many.
Yeah, I don't think so. You have a lot of players who are technically very well, like Sancho. You have a Rashford who is technically very good. We have the Swedish striker
Elanga,
indeed.
Yeah.
So those are all quite players who are quite fast, who have speed, and that's the contrary on what class is. So you don't have such a typical footballer. You might say if you put Donny at his position in the number 10 position, you could see him as the same, although Donny is way miles better than Klaassen at this moment. I mean, he has technical functionality of Donny is sublime if you compare it with Klaassen, and he knows how to score. So you could compare it with Klaassen, but not if you look at the level.
Yeah, I totally understand that, and thank you for that reply. I think that's fantastic. I'm just going to quickly dive into the live chat. There's a few comments. Obviously, Hella's saying gutted more so than against Liverpool. We actually played today. I agree. Ajax, I love that spin there. I know exactly who that is as well. Big up to my boy Sahbi. Ajmal's got a question. He's asking me to ask you. Can you ask, how does Ten Hag respond to players not doing what he's asking? So, like in terms of players' instructions, obviously I've seen a few training sessions and watched a fair few Ajax games over the past couple of years. He's very committed, but obviously for yourself being more of a fan than I am, just exactly how does he respond to players not following instruction?
Yeah, I mean he's quite strict. He has two characters. I mean he's a coach who likes to mingle with the players, who even plays with them during an exhibition match. So he does a lot with them. But on the other hand, he's quite strict. He's you might say some sort of a teacher. He explicitly wants to do. He says he really needs to. Really need to do what he says in order to have the complete picture. So if you don't listen to him, if you don't follow up on what he really wants, you're having issues. I mean, it wouldn't mind if it's Ronaldo or a Jones or whatever player it is within your squad. He listens to them. That's one thing. He always listens to opinions, but he's the one who has the last say. And if you don't follow, he will tell you. He will tell you. And if you don't do it again, you're in trouble.
There you go, Ajmal. I hope that answers your question. Very elegantly put, Sahbi. Very elegantly put. Wayne's got a question. Good evening to you, Wayne. I hope you're doing really well. Sahbi, one of the things Ten Hag might be unprepared for is the intense media scrutiny. Every word is analysed. Do you think he has the confidence / character to deal with the English press?
Yeah, definitely. That man, Ten Hag, he knows how to prepare. He always prepares way before, so he already knows how to react in certain positions. Because at Ajax we also had a lot of issues with COVID, issues with players who got in trouble, and he acted in the way he should. He wasn't nervous. He was quite straight, quite serious, very direct. So no, I don't think he will be in trouble or something against the English press. It's going to be difficult, that's for sure. But I mean, he can handle. I'm positive about that.
I think the one thing I do like about him is I've watched a few of his previous press conferences or post-match interviews. I've watched them on YouTube, and there is one that's actually really useful, and it's actually during the Andre Onana circumstance when he had got when he had got banned, and he was asked, "What's your thoughts?" and he was like, "Well, he's not in the team, so there's no point talking about him." And he just brushed off. He just brushed off. He's like, "Well, he's not in the team. He's not here, so moving on." And the report was like, the reporter came back to him saying, "Well, who's going to play in goal?" And he was like, "Well, whoever's in the team, it's a goalkeeper, will play that goal because that's their position." He's basically just told the reporter in a blunt way, "You will see, shut up."
Indeed. He's quite strict. The same applies for players who were in trouble, or the COVID situation, or a situation with Manchester United. I mean, there were a lot of talks in recent weeks about him being appointed as the new coach. But none of the questions related to Manchester United were answered by him. He's like, "No, that. I'm not talking about United. There's no link at this moment with United. There's no agreement with United. No, I'm talking about Ajax. Ajax is now what matters. So if there are any questions about Ajax, I will be happy to answer them. Otherwise, we move on."
And that's something that I actually liked, because other managers who have been in that circumstance before, like when Brendan Rodgers was apparently linked to Man United, he just couldn't shut up about it. And it dwindled on his performances at Leicester. Now he's eventually managed to turn things around, probably because we never wanted him in the first place. But you just saw in the circumstance, like he just couldn't handle it. Whereas Ten Hag, I think he has that ability and that confidence in himself where he can just brush it aside and just focus. And I think that's, for me, that's that strength.
And what I like most about Ten Hag is he always protecting his players, no matter what. Whatever they've done, even if they did a real bad thing, he's protecting them. In any case, he's still protecting Overmars, and we all know what happened with Overmars with the adverse news regarding that sexual harassment stuff. So he's protecting them, and he always says, whatever I really think is between me and that person, but in the media, I always protect my players, and that's what a coach normally should do.
Absolutely, and it's a reflection of modern society where at times where a coach has to be firm, but also they have to be fair, and it reflects from him. And I think it's great to have. And I think this comment perfectly sums it up. Hella, on the back of what you've said, he takes no prisoners, but he's the type that makes people sit up and listen. He has that. He has that aura, and I think it's fantastic. Yeah. There is a question for you. Which I know me and you have spoken about before, but it's great to go further into it because obviously performances of late hasn't been particularly great from a goalkeeping perspective. Hella says she hasn't watched Ajax as much as she would like. So where is he on goalkeepers? How would he rate David De Gea versus Dean Henderson?
Well, first of all, I want to ask Hella to watch a bit more Ajax because it's one of the greatest clubs.
It's a good watch from a neutral perspective.
Definitely. But comparison David De Gea with Henderson, it's difficult. I mean, we all know David De Gea. He's an excellent lineskeeper, but awful in disputing the ball, in passing the ball. He's really well with his hands, but not with his feet. In comparison with Henderson, from what I do know is Ten Hag really likes the type of keepers that knows how to play with the ball, so with their feet. Besides the goalkeeping strength, so normally he would have probably chosen, if you have to choose one of those two, he would probably have chosen for Henderson. But since De Gea is a goalkeeper of so many years, I think he would give him the chance first before even thinking about replacing him for another keeper. That will be my opinion, because he doesn't really like to change a lot. Goalkeeper is one of the most important parts of the lineup, but I think he will stick with David De Gea, and if he sees that it doesn't suit the type of play that he really wants to implement, he won't hesitate to replace him.
It's not easy to coach a goalkeeper, or any player, if in that matter, over the age of 30, into a new style. It's not easy. So how would he adapt to De Gea in that circumstance? Because obviously De Gea's, as I agree with you, he's from the lines, he's a fantastic shot stopper.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you in terms of distributing and shot prevention, all this new method of goalkeeping that's been going around the past decade, because it's taken from the Dutch way, and it's then evolved through the Spanish in that sense, and it's carried on. How will he adapt? Will he be able to will he have De Gea work solely on distributing? Will he I think it'd be crazy enough. I would honestly play De Gea, make De Gea train with defensive midfielders and midfield players, because I think in terms of distributing, the best area in the pitch for me for distributing is midfield. I think for that I would make him play with them, but it depends on what you think. But in terms of that, how would you think he could adapt to De Gea? Because it's not going to be easy.
It's not going to be easy. I mean, he will probably needs to train more with his feet. But as I said earlier, Ten Hag really likes to build up from the back. So the build-up starts from the goalkeeper. So even though the central midfielder should be the one who needs to distribute the ball, which I totally agree with you, but from a possessions type of play, it always starts from the back, and you need a goalkeeper who can distribute the ball. But not only that, you need a goalkeeper who can coach as well. I mean,
Yeah,
you have a back line, you have four defenders, and you need a goalkeeper who can coach a lot. And I don't know whether De Gea is doing that already, but that's something that is really required from that perspective. So I don't know how you really can train that. You would give him the time to develop, but I mean, if it doesn't work out, he will easily change for another goalkeeper. I mean, the funds are already there at United. I mean, it's not the same as at Ajax,
true.
where we focus on youth, for example. But at United, I mean, if the guy doesn't deliver, then yeah, there's always a new goalkeeper who can deliver.
Absolutely. And I do actually have a quote, funnily enough. This is from a player, funnily enough, that plays for your club. Brian Brobbey, of course, he's on loan at Ajax. He's on loan from Leipzig, I'm pretty sure. He's
Yeah.
fantastic young striker, but he can also play in the wings. He's actually made a comment this evening about Ten Hag, and I just want to get your opinion on this, if you wouldn't mind. And I quote, "I am very happy for him, and he really deserves it after everything he has done for Ajax." Or Ajax, depends on how you pronounce it, of course, like the Dutch way as well. If only he brings me with him in 2 years. No, joking. So of course the humour is there. Of course, he would like to play with him again, which I think is fantastic. But just on the back of that quote, that confidence there is like, even after like 2 years of working with him, and Brobbey's only 19 years old, 20 years old. How positive does that make you feel about? Not in the sense that you're losing Ten Hag, because obviously that's a big loss, but in the sense that he's going on to a different challenge where it's different style of football, where he has to adapt week after week. As an Ajax fan, how does that make you feel, like in that way, based on that quote from Brobbey?
I mean, Brobbey is an excellent player. He's such a great talent, and you said it yourself. He's 90 years old, but he has a body of someone in 30. Like, he's so strong, and he's like a beast. And he loves Ajax. And actually, he never wanted to leave, but he left because he didn't see any chances for himself playing regular football at Ajax, because we had Haller. We didn't really have a striker, but we bought Haller in the winter transfer window. So that was a signal for him where he said, like, okay, apparently I won't get any playing time, so I will leave and going on a free transfer to Leipzig.
Yeah.
But at the end, he regret that part when he went to Leipzig, and he even asked to come back to Ajax on loan. So Overmars did that, and he did a superb job. And since the winter, he's performing great. He doesn't play as a starter, but when he comes in, there's always magic. There's always something happening, and he scores a goal or he gives an assist. He's way important, and he wants to stay. But unfortunately, Leipzig is currently stating that they will not sell him at this moment. So perhaps it's a way to raise the transfer fee. But if it was up to Ajax and Brobbey, he would definitely come back to Ajax, and I think it will work out.
Especially in his versatility as well. Obviously, you can play him on the wings, or you can play him through the middle as a number 9. So you've got that option there. But I just think exactly, and I just think it's such a fantastic quote that it's in reflection of him, and I think that's something that really is important. And that for me is why I like this manager coming in, because he has that confidence in young players and he wants to take them forward.
Yeah,
and that's the key, especially for United, where they're going. If United realistically want to do something in the next couple of years with Ten Hag, it has to be with a younger, energetic, powerful, but technically capable squad, and that's something that they have to do. There's a question here by Ajmal. Hope you're doing really well, my friend. Ajmal says, "What role will McTominay have, since he can only pass the ball sideways and backwards?" Which is, of course, me being Scottish, I don't disagree. So It's all about
Yeah.
adapting. What do you see in terms of role for McTominay? Do you see a role, or do you think?
I don't think he will have a big role under Ten Hag as a starter. I mean, as Ajmal already stated, he's a player who passes the ball sideways or backwards, and that's typically something that Ten Hag doesn't want to see. We often want to see players who playing the ball who are progressive in passing.
Yeah.
So always ball forward, and that's why I really like Donny playing in his position besides next to Fred, because in that way you always have a player who distribute the ball to the up front and not to the back or sideways. We had a player Alvarez who did the same in the past seasons, but this season he like developed and he distributes the ball way more forward instead of backwards. So that's a good thing. So I don't think McTominay, if he would play like he does this season, I don't think he will play a lot on the Ten Hag.
I really like Alvarez. You know I do.
Yeah, Alvarez is a great player. I don't know whether he would whether he could play with the intensity of the Premier League, but yeah, he knows how to recover the ball. He knows how to he can really break that attack of the opponent. So that's something that you really need. Perhaps a type of Fred could do that, but I mean, I heard a lot of other names like Declan Rice, or maybe I don't know. I'm just mentioning players which I see in the in certain articles. But yeah, you really need a defensive midfielder. That's for sure.
I can see why Man United fans, vast majority of United fans, want Rice. I don't personally. I don't, and it's not because of the price tag. It's just in a Ten Hag system. I would rather we went for. I would rather we went for like Calvin Phillips from Leeds, or if we'd went for say Ruben Neves from Wolves.
Yeah.
I think that makes more sense. More intense. They've played in a single pivot. It makes, and for us, it's going to be more detailed in that role. I think that's more useful. I think Declan Rice, you have to get him. It's well over 100 million. United can do that easily, but it's pointless. It's not going to.
Yeah, I mean, the most important part is that it should be a footballer who knows how to distribute the ball, who can play the ball forward and not backwards. Not only a player who can like conquer the ball, but can have that football aspect in that game as well. And if you have that, then it's you're already one part away from attacking in the way Ten Hag really wants.
Yeah, and that's what I would more like prefer. And to be fair, I do like Edson Alvarez. I would prefer him. Hella's comment saying, I always wish David De Gea would be more vocal. I find him lacking in that aspect. Is David De Gea too old and set in his ways to expand his repertoire? I personally believe he is, but I hope he can prove me wrong and can do more. I personally believe he is. Ajax has a question for you, Sahbi. How about Harry Maguire? That smile is going to be perfect for this response.
Yeah.
Do you see a role for him next season?
Ten Hag, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, in the way Ten Hag wants to play, there would not be any role for Ten Hag for Maguire. Maguire might be good in progressive passes, but he lacks speed to even play the type of football that Ten Hag wants to play. We like to play at the half of the opponent. So meaning that if they would conquer the ball in transition, we would be in trouble. At least United would be in trouble. And with his lack of speed, it's not it's unrecoverable. So no, that guy is, and we always call him a lumberjack because he knows how to break. But yeah, he's also way out of form. So no, he will definitely not play under Ten Hag as we see him playing at Ajax. I mean, we have Martinez and Timber in our center, and those are pure footballers. They know how to defend, but they also know how to build up. They also know how to give progressive passes. So, and they have speed, both. So that's a combination which you really need if you want to play the type of football that Ten Hag wants to implement.
And they're versatile as well. Obviously, Lisandro Martinez, if for example, if Edson Alvarez is not available, you could dip Martinez into a defensive midfield. You could put Blind back at the centre back, although it's very unlikely, but you could. Tagliafico then can come back into left back. Timber can cover right back if Nasi or Matsurai or Wrench is not available. You've got that versatility as well, and that's key.
There's a lot of position changes indeed possible at Ajax. I mean, Timber can even play indeed as a defensive midfielder, as a right back, as a centre back. Martinez as a centre back or left back or defensive midfielder. Blind as left back, centre back or defensive midfielder. Nus Mazraoui as right back or left back. So he has a lot of options, and that would be great, of course, for a coach to have so many flavors.
And I can certainly see him bringing that more to United, where I think as good as it is to have a few specialists, United are going to need some versatile talents built into the system. It's really going to be effective. And Hela actually agrees with you. And to be honest, I do as well. I think Fred's going to be phenomenal under Ten Hag. She thinks that Fred could be a revelation. Will he play a player with Fred's abilities higher up, wasting the low position? I think he will. I look at a player who I think you could compare him to, not in a direct comparison, but like Ryan Gravenberch, where Ryan Gravenberch is up and down, up and down, up and down. So much energy, so much power.
Yeah,
can do the basics. Fred just needs a little coaching, and I think Fred can be a real dynamite. I think he could be.
Yeah, definitely. He's technically also gifted. He's strong, and he got pace. So it's definitely a position he could cover. So yeah, you basically need a real defensive midfielder, and not play with two defensive midfielders, but one defensive midfielder, and that's basically what Ten Hag really wants to play. One defensive midfielder on number 10, and a box-to-box player who is also technically gifted to give also that pass, and certain wingers who can give that pass, who can play wide, who has the total package, and of course a striker who can link up with the midfielders, who can create chances for the midfielders, and who can score goals. So it's going to be difficult for Ten Hag to implement this with these type of players. So he has a lot to do during the transfer window.
More goals, more ways, the better. That suit me. Last Avenger, good evening. Comment saying here, Frenkie de Jong has been linked to a move to United. There's going to be so many players linked to United. Your thoughts on the player? From a deep perspective, I know Sahbi can give you a far more detailed point of view than me, but for me, purely for the reason that I wouldn't mind Frenkie de Jong is I like how he plays from a deep position. When he picks up the ball as an anchor, he can get that ball going forward. His vision is impeccable. He's key for the Dutch team, Barcelona, when he's played, or even for Ajax as well, when he played beside Van de Beek as an example, and Lasser Schona, phenomenal player when he played for Ajax. His link in between defence and attack is fantastic, and he gets stuck in as well, and he's deceptively fast as well, and I also like, and he's very aggressive in a tackle. I think that's something that doesn't get spoken about a lot. But just from yourself, from like the Ajax perspective, like coming through when you came through your academy, what's your overall view on De Jong? And in terms of the Premier League, do you think he would be a wise decision by United, or do you think they should look elsewhere? I think he'd be great, but just from your perspective,
he would be an excellent buy, a real excellent buy, especially if you would get him for the central defensive role. I mean, he knows how to distribute the ball. He knows how to defend. He knows how to pass the ball. He can dribble. He's fast with the ball on and off the ball. And as Ajax said, he dances with the ball. He knows how to. Yeah, it's also lovely to see how he plays. And I mean, and it starts from the back. So he always picks up the ball from the defense and then starts the build-up. Yeah, I mean, such a player is an asset for every club, and he would do very well at United. I mean, Guardiola wanted to have him as well at City before he went to Barcelona. Even when he was at Barcelona, City wanted him. Bayern Munich wanted him. So it will be a steal if United would be able to get him from Barcelona.
Especially because he's only 23, 24 as well. So it's even better that he's coming in, not yet at his prime. He's still got a long way to go. He can mature into an even better player. It could be an even benefit for United. I don't know if United would spend the money. I think Barcelona would demand too high a fee, but if United could land them, I think it would be a phenomenal talent. Speaking of top talents, these are two players that personally I would love to come to United. Rumours, and you know this very well. Rumours of Yuri Timber and Antony to United. Anything in those rumours, in your opinion? I think it's just paper talk, but I don't really know about. What about yourself? Do you think it's extremely credible? Do you think it could happen this summer? I know it would cost a bit.
With regard to Timber, I think that's indeed paper talk. I mean, he often mentioned during interviews that he still has a lot to learn and he really wants to stay at Ajax because he hasn't finished yet. But of course, if a club as United comes for you, it's going to be difficult to say no. But he's a grown up and he's mature. He knows how to handle with these kind of rumors. So in my view, I think he will stay. With regards to Antony, that's a bit difficult. I mean, there are rumors coming from pundits and journalists in the Netherlands stating that he wants to seek a new adventure. And what kind of adventure could you think of than United moving along with Ten Hag? But if Ajax would be smart, they would wait until after the World Cup. I mean, the World Cup is in November, December. And he's one of the players of the Brazil national squad. So if he performs well, the transfer fee will skyrocket. So, I mean, from Ajax perspective, I don't think they will let him go because there are already so many players leaving at Ajax. I mean, we got news, Nico Mazzarri, who's already leaving. There are rumors about Haller leaving. There are a lot of players who will probably leave. So I don't think they will let Antony go, but you never know in football. But he would definitely be an asset for United as a right winger, definitely.
I think in terms of like you look in the Premier League already or elsewhere, like potential options that could fit. I mean, I've seen numerous United players saying they wouldn't mind Rafinha from Leeds. I like Rafinha. I think he's an excellent winger. He works very hard, but I would just much prefer Antony. You know, there's just something about him. It's like, you know, like there's certain players that you can get off your seat. Every time I've seen him play, like he does like something like a little bit different, where it'd be like jumping up in there and he flicks it flicks the ball with his ankle to control the ball, or he'll drop it down like a classic 90s player. Like there's just something about him that's such flair.
Yeah, I mean, he brings joy. He brings really that samba, the Brazilian flavor. Yeah, he really brings that with him. So it's also fun to watch. And that's what fans actually want. They want to see your club winning, but also in the way they are winning. So the fun to watch football is actually what Antony completely brings. And and since he's injured at Ajax,
unfortunately,
I mean, the joy to watch Ajax at this moment has been decreasing for 50% because of Antony, because he brings so much joy. The way he dribbles, the way he handles the ball, the scoring. I mean, that's something that we currently really miss. And he's still definitely well said indeed. So he could be absolutely an asset for United, but let's wait for that and maybe till next year. Huh?
No, I would still take him as injured and let him recover, and then just come back and let him kick on. If you want a perfect example of Antony being an absolute joy to watch, Ajax versus Borussia Dortmund in Dortmund, he was fantastic against Mats Hummels in particular. Like, he ran rings around him, and Mats Hummels, I know he doesn't have the pace anymore, but he's still a very experienced defender at the top European game. And he ran him around like completely as if like Hummels aged 10 years playing against Antony. That's just how bad it was for Hummels that night. But I mean, also the way he played against Sporting in both games as well was just
he was exceptional. He was outstanding. And the thing is, he always keeps 1-2 defenders at least busy, which creates space for others. So, and that's what we currently miss at Ajax since he was injured. I mean, he's a type of player which no single defender can defend him. You always need 2 or 3 to really narrow him to the wide and not cutting in. And yeah, this doesn't happen at this moment because our right wing is really crappy at this moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, we really need him, but unfortunately he's out for the season. So it's going to be difficult for us these upcoming games.
And in regards to the United squad, obviously it is not as technical as the Ajax team. And the Ajax team is systematic football when it's controlled. And that's something that Manchester United are going to have to do in the summer going forward, is we need to bring in system players. Out of the current crop of the squad, obviously you said McTominay and Maguire in particular wouldn't suit. And to be honest, I agree with you. The goalkeeper situation is going to be looked at in the right way. And Fernandes is going to be interesting. Like you've compared him to like Berghuis in his role. For the rest of the squad, though, the likes of Sancho, Rashford, potentially Ronaldo, give or take. We'll see how that goes. Elanga, Garnacho, Hannibal coming through. Is there, and obviously Van de Beek and Martial are on loan. They could potentially fill a role. We'll see in the summer.
Yeah.
Is there anyone that else you've seen in the Man United squad that you think would be perfect under Ten Hag once they start to learn his way, or do you think United realistically have to invest more than in the summer?
I mean, yeah, you definitely need to invest more. I'm thinking particularly on the right back. I mean, Wan-Bissaka, sorry to say, but he's a crappy player. He doesn't bring a lot to your team. You see him walking, but he doesn't have any added value. He keeps on running, but doesn't have any added value to the attack. I mean, he doesn't support midfield, and he doesn't handle the ball in a proper way. So I don't think he will be used that often. And I think Dalot is also a bit too light for to play the type of football that you want to play at a higher level. I mean, we should not. United is one of the traditionally best clubs in the world. I mean, if you think about the Ferguson time, he really has a winner's mentality, a winning mentality. If you as an opponent go to Old Trafford, you already know you would lose as an opponent.
Yeah,
that doesn't happen now at this moment. I mean, people
unfortunately,
come to United and they know they can win points. So yeah, you really need some players who have that winning mentality, and you don't see that a lot in within the players currently that are in the United squad, and that's where Ten Hag is perfectly fit for, because he knows how to bring that winner's mentality, that discipline, and with the right amount of players and the right type of players, he can definitely succeed. So the right back is an issue. The central defense, midfield is an issue. The center back is an issue. I mean, you have Maguire, but you really need to. And Varane is injury prone, so he doesn't play a lot because of injuries. Well, he's a good defender, so you will really need to invest in the defense. Shaw is probably one of the players that Ten Hag would use. He builds up in a good way. He knows how to help out in attack. So he could be a type of player that could be useful for Ten Hag. But and yeah, if you look at the wingers, Sancho is a great player, so he needs to have he needs that fine tuning. And Rashford is great as well. He is out of form, but he needs that confidence. And that's what's currently lacking from his side. And I know that Ten Hag, if he talks to him and gives him the time, and yeah, he can do well as well. I don't know whether he will stay, because lack of playing time. I can imagine he wants to leave, but he can probably do well under Ten Hag as a left winger.
I would hope so. I think there's some players in this team, I'll be honest, I'm at that point where they're just in their final chance with me. And if they don't turn around under this man, then they have to go. And as much as I like Marcus Rashford, he is one of those players.
Yeah.
And it's purely for the sense, like, yes, he's had moments where he's been a delight, but then he's regressed so badly. And I know he's had injuries, but even when he's recovered from injuries, he's not kicked on. and it's worrying. And I'm thinking, if it's just one-dimensional, like you can only play the left wing, so you have to play him in the left wing. I don't want it to be in that sense of, he's just fitting in players because of what they bring to the club. I want them to fit in because it fits the team. If he can find a way for him, that'd be great, because I would like to see Rashford show more to the squad, because I think he has that capable in him. I think Shaw could as well, but they have to show it for me, and they have to bring that consistency, and it's relevant to that. There is one player that actually, fun enough, has just been mentioned in the live chat by Ajmal. I don't see it happening, but the question is, if Pogba stays, what role does Sahbi see him playing? If Pogba were to stay, what sort of role?
It's quite clear already that he won't stay. Pogba is a more of an attacking minded player. I mean, if you look at him at the French national squad, he intervenes a lot with the attack. So you could see him more in attack than in real defense, because you have Kanté in the French national squad, who does all the necessary defensive work. Pogba as a defensive midfielder won't work. I mean, he has too much of that attacking style in his mind and in the way he plays that it won't add up to put him as a defensive midfielder. So I would put him more as a number 10, but from that perspective, he would have to compete with Bruno Fernandes. But that would be his actual position, and then maybe in an 8 position as well, like in a box-to-box, where he has to fulfill his defensive duties as well. But my say would be that he would be more of an asset as a number 10.
Just in the back of that, I just want to pick your brain and see what you think of this. I think in terms of energy levels and getting up and down the pitch, I alluded to Freddie Alon and Gravenberch, and obviously like Van de Beek has got an option there as a 10. Would you put Fernandes in the 8 role? Because obviously he can get up and down. He's more inclined to defend than Pogba can. Would you put Fernandes in the number 8 role? And obviously Ten Hag can get him to be disciplined and stay in that position solely, and put Pogba in the 10 role, because obviously Pogba's admitted himself before, he can't defend. He's not particularly good at tackling, and it's been highlighted before, like the Arsenal game last year, as a reflection where he admitted he can't defend, he can't tackle, he gave away a silly penalty. Would you just have him like, that's your job? You just float around the box as a 10, create, score goals, and then just go, Fernandes, just you do the work. Would you be more inclined to do that?
Funny you're saying that, Reece, because we were talking first about Berghuis being the number 10 and comparing him with Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah.
Berghuis often played in this season also as an 8.
Exactly.
And he did that terrifically. He helped out the defense. He supported the defensive midfield, but he was also able to support the attacking midfielder with his passes and with his pace, with his discipline. So yeah, I would definitely see him as a number 8. I mean, he knows how to distribute the ball. He always gives progressive passes, not passing to the back or sideways. So yeah, that would be great if you had a new number 10. If Pogba would leave and you had the funds to buy a new number 10, yeah, I mean, Bruno would definitely fit the 8 role.
Because I do think going forward, in that sense, I would, and this is not because I don't think Fernandes is a bad player in that sense, but I think in terms of a Ten Hag system, I think the 2 best options for the number 10 role for me is if Pogba stays and he can maintain consistency throughout the season, I think he'd be perfect. I also think in a more controlled method, Van de Beek would be, those 2 are the 2 to compete. I wouldn't mind a new box-to-box midfielder coming to compete with Fernandes. And then you've got Fred, whoever, plus like say Garner or whoever in that number 6 role. Because I think Fred can be coached into a 6 role, but I prefer him in a box-to-box because he's so aggressive. There's so many ways that he can do this, and I've seen the tweet about 5 minutes ago because I had a look because I didn't see it. He did put up quite a bizarre tweet today as well, saying that he'll try and get back quickly before the end of the season, even though we've been told he's going to be out for like 3 to 4 weeks, and we've only got like 4 games left. I don't see him playing this season, but I'm just not sure in the sense that there's nothing against Pogba, but I just think it's too little too late. I think for him, like, it hasn't worked out for him. He's had moments where he's been fantastic for us, where we haven't catered to him in the sense that we haven't built a strong midfield around him. It's been consistently reflected by United fans. I think it's too little, too late. I think personally, I think he should move on.
Probably. I mean, if you look at Pogba, if you compare the Pogba from the France national squad and the Pogba from the United squad, there is a huge difference. Difference in form. I mean, he's performing excellent at the French national squad, but he's playing poor at United. I mean, what could be the reason? I mean, the one thing that I could think of is that the defensive midfielders play for him, like they are doing their defensive duties, and Pogba is the one who receives the ball and tries to distribute or score or shoot from distance, etc. While at United, he needs to do a lot more. He needs to put in way more effort, and maybe that doesn't suit him. And if that's the case, it would be better for him to leave, because with Ten Hag, everybody needs to work hard. Everybody, from the striker till the goalkeeper, everybody needs to work their ass off, because that's
Absolutely.
the way. I mean, look at Guardiola. I mean, he has fine-tuned that team in such a way that they work so hard and they pressure so well in the attack, and they build up away from the back. They're doing it perfectly, and Ten Hag will try to do it the same with United. I'm quite positive about that.
Absolutely, I agree with you. And on the back of that, talk about fine tuning. Here's an example: Ronaldo. To be fair, a man of his age, his consistency, his numbers, coaching him isn't. I don't think he's going to do. I think he's just going to tell him to be around the box. We're just going to coach the team to him. But like, that's just my way of thinking. But what do you think Ten Hag's approach is going to be to Ronaldo?
I mean, he will definitely tell him that he will be the one who needs to start that pressuring. I mean, just as Haller does with Ajax, by running towards the central defense to pressure. Ronaldo needs to work hard as well to pressure. I mean, he scores a lot of goals at this moment, right?
Absolutely, fourth highest in the Premier League this year.
I mean, think about it. He scores so many goals while United is playing reactive football.
Yeah.
If you think about it, if United would play pressuring football and try to recover the ball at the half of the opponent, he would even score way more goals, because he would create so many chances would be created. So in the way that Ten Hag plays, he would definitely score more goals or assist more. But he will have to work harder. He needs to work harder, and because it starts with him.
I disagree with this comment. I disagree with this. I've seen Ronaldo's pressed against opposition this year. Like, he pressed against Villarreal, he's pressed against Atalanta, he pressed against Atletico Madrid. He did press against, even though we got absolutely rinsed at Old Trafford, he did press against Liverpool to a degree, and he did press against Arsenal. He does press. He's just not the presser you would expect. But if you put him in an area where if it's like 0 yards, the opposition goalkeeper line to say 18 to 24 yards, he will press, but he will work. I think a lot of people are just saying he's never pressed in his life because it's a narrative. He does press. It's just he doesn't press like a mad going German who are the ultimate pressing machine. He doesn't do it like that, but he does press on the ball. I think it's a narrative against him, because he does. He may not be the highest pressure per numbers, like pressures in that sense, but he does press.
And the pressing won't work if other players won't press as well. Right? I mean, if the right winger, the left winger, and the number 10 won't press in the same way the striker does, it wouldn't have any added value. I mean, you would press, and they could easily find another player to pass the ball, the opponent. So you need to press as a team, and that's why Ten Hag tries to press as a whole team. So the central defense, the right back, the left back, also press. So the opponent won't receive the ball so easily. you could recover the ball not on your half but on the half of the opponent, which would result in space, in creating chances, and scoring goals.
I agree. I agree. Guys, just for anyone that's watching, if you haven't already, please can you like, share, and subscribe to Talk of the Devils. Refer to like talkofthedevils.co.uk as well for any online content, including Wayne's match reviews. He does. Also, can you give We Talk Ajax a subscribe on YouTube as well and a follow on Twitter. And for anyone as well, like we will be wrapping up around like 10 o'clock. It's the next 5 minutes. But has anyone got any like final questions for Sahbi in particular about Ajax, specifically about like Ten Hag's involvement in the academy? That's something that I wanted to know in terms of like furthermore is like his involvement is the Man United Academy in terms of style. What do you see like the current coaching? Like, do you see them just adapting to his style? Or do you think they're going to be replaced? Like, what do you think his involvement will be in our academy once when he takes over?
Yeah, I mean, he will definitely be able to have a look at the academy to see whether there are any potential players who could reach the first team, because that's something that Ten Hag does. I mean, he always watches the games of our youth squad, our second team of Ajax, to see whether there's any development of certain players, to see whether they could move up to the first team. So he will have a look at it. That's for sure. And he will also seek seek players, because he always wants one or two youth players at least to train with the first squad to see whether they could cope with the level of intensity of that first team. And that's something that he will continue to do. So players like Hannibal or Garnacha, those are players who will play in preseason. That's absolutely for sure. And if he sees that they could add something, he will keep them. He will keep them in his squad, because at Ajax, there's always one or two players who are being taken from the youth squad and kept at the first team. So yeah, he will definitely look at it.
Yeah, there is certain ones, of course, that I would like to see. Obviously, Alvaro Fernandes, like left backs one. I would like to see like Garner in the midfield, Menge in a few years' time at centre back, and of course, you've mentioned my personal favourites like Garnacho, Hannibal, Elanga's already in the squad. I'd like to see Zidane Iqbal at some point, but there is actually a very interesting question, and this is off the topic. And this, well, there's two questions actually. We'll go with the first one, and it's Ajmal's comment about your own club. Actually, what is the future for Ajax?
Very difficult to say. I mean, we have a lot of players who are leaving. We have a coach who is leaving. We lack a current director of football because of Overmars that has left us some months ago. So yeah, it's some sort of a gray area now. Nobody knows what to think about next season. It's going to be a difficult and a very busy transfer window. I mean, we have a lot of players that we need to replace. We have a new coach that we need to get. Rumors are stating that Schreuder, who is currently coach of Club Brugge and was an assistant coach of Ten Hag during the 18-19 season, where we reached the semi-finals. He was assistant of Ronald Koeman at Barcelona. He was a head coach of the German club Hoffenheim. So he gained a lot of experience, and he knows how Ten Hag coach. So he probably learned from him as well. He knows how to deal with players. So he might be a good addition, but it's still rumors, and I mean, there's still talks. I don't know whether it's true or not true. But at first, we need to start with a director of football. If we don't have a director of football, we don't even know how the transfer window will look like. So at this moment, my own thought is, let's first be league champions, because in that way we know we got Champions League football. If we get second, it's going to be difficult next season. That's for sure. That's for sure. It won't be the same as this season or last season. It's going to be very, very difficult. So I'm quite curious on what kind of transfers we'll get in. So that's why I hope Timber and Antony will stay, because that will be a relief from our side.
Well, you know me, I hope not, but that's just that's just because I absolutely adore them and I really do want them at United next year. I did before I come on to the final question before we wrap up. I did see that Klaas-Jan Huntelaar was at the cup final. Do you think he could be the next director of football for Ajax?
Well, he's actually the assistant. The
Oh,
assistant
he's
of
assistant.
yeah, he's the assistant of the a temporary director of football, who
All
is
right,
named Gerry Hamstra. So he is like an intern at this moment.
right.
So it looks like he will be our future director of football, but not this season, but perhaps in the upcoming seasons. So we are drilling them. Ajax is drilling him to become the future replacement of Overmars.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's good for you guys. At least that's something that can take you forward. The second to last question is: do you see Rangnick and Ten Hag working well together?
From what I've seen, I think so, because he's the one who has he advised the board to take Ten Hag on board. So I assume he talks a lot with him. Yeah, I assume he talks a lot with him, and he has the same philosophy. He has the same idea of what kind of football they want to play. I mean, Rangnick is a great coach. You don't see that in the results, but
Yeah,
he lacks the players to play the type of football that you want to see, that he wants to see. And he already stated, like, I want to play attacking football, I want to play pressing football, but we don't have the players to do so. So that's why he's playing more of a reactive football, etc. So I can
yeah,
imagine how Rangnick is looking at it. That's why I'm not blaming him for the results of
same.
United. I mean, there's certain fans who do blame him because he brings the same as what Ole does, apparently, according to them. But he has a vision. He has a vision, Rangnick, and his first vision was he wants to bring that football of Ten Hag, that what Ten Hag brought at Ajax.
Yeah.
So yeah, he has a good look. He has a good view on it.
He's a manager that, as well as Ten, I really do like Ralf Rangnick. I always have, because his style of football is what I've always wanted at United. It's just like you said, the players, and he's been undermined a lot, and it's pathetic. That's why I don't blame him. And the players who think he managed like Ollie, they're the ones who I really hope get their heads like out the sand. Like, they're the ones, like, to say it in the nicest way. If I wanted to say what I wanted to say, I would, but I'm not going to. But there's a lot of fans who I believe really need to get their heads out of a different area of their anatomy. Question from One Don MUFC. Before we go, because there's a few comments in here that are absolutely fantastic. He's saying, how many players would Ten Hag take with him? Now, if it was up to me, I would want at least 5 from your first team. That ain't gonna happen. But
Yeah.
ideally,
No,
do you think he will bring anyone, or do you think he'll do a Pep Guardiola when he went to City from Bayern? Do you think he'll respect Ajax and not sign anybody?
It's difficult to say. I mean, I don't know how the players think, but I don't know whether contractual wise has been taken into account. Maybe it was already included in the contract that Ten Hag isn't allowed to take players from Ajax. I don't know,
Yeah.
but there are definitely certain players who could strengthen the United squad. I mean, we're talking about Timber, Martinez, Gravenberg, Antony. Those are already players that I could mention by heart who could definitely have an added value for the current within the current United squad. So, will he take them with him? I don't think so. I mean, he has a love for Ajax, so I don't think
Yeah.
he will destroy the club. But the club will also not be willing to let their star players leave at once. So maybe he could take one with him if needed. I mean, Gravenberg is still in discussion with Bayern Munich,
I hope we stop that. I hope we get
but
involved.
yeah, I mean, currently Ajax and Bayern Munich are still in negotiation. Munich doesn't want to pay what Ajax wants. So maybe if Ten Hag can talk with Gravenberg and United pays what Ajax wants, it might be a good deal for United because he wants to leave. That's something that's for sure. He wants to take next step, and he could be
Yeah.
definitely a player who would add some value to United.
In terms of your squad, I'll be honest with you right now. Everyone, I'm now going to make it public right now to everybody, because there's a lot of people that have asked me so many times, which players would you want from Ajax? So I'm going to make it public now. So it's Nusir Matsurwai, although I do think he's going to go Bayern Munich. That's a fantastic free transfer that Bayern Munich are going to get. Antony and Timber's the other. I think for comfort, as much as I would like to raid both your centre backs, Lisandro Martinez, we're not going to do it. So I'm going to, but he is one I would like. We're going to rule him out. I would like Edson Alvarez as a number 6. It's the perfect number 6 for a Ten Hag system. It's right across the boat. I don't see us signing him, perfectly honest, but I would like that. Therefore, that's why I would go for Neves or Calvin Phillips, because it's a similar mould. Gravenberch is another is a number 8, fantastic choice. As a developing number 10, I would like Mohamed Kudus. I think he's a fantastic young number 10.
Fantastic.
He's got good control, good passing the ball, but he's also got another thing that's effective: pace. And then of course you've got Antony, who's another. So roughly, it's like 6 players, like 5 or 6, but like one of them is like I don't see happening. 2 of them I don't see happening. That's Kudus and Alvarez. But the other 4 would be an absolute steal: a right back, a centre back, and a number 8, and a right winger. Job done.
Great. I mean, great choices. I mean, with regards to Kudus, I don't think that I would bring him.
Probably not.
I mean, he's a real gem. He's a great player, but he sits on the bench on the Ten Hag. He doesn't play a lot. So if he doesn't play him at Ajax, I don't see him taking him with him to United. So
that's what he as well, because he's such a good number 10 as well, and he can play across the field.
Yeah. He had an assist today, which brought us the win. So he did.
It's true.
He's a great player, definitely.
Absolutely. And I can give you an answer to this question, Ajmal. Is Michel van der Gaag joining Erik ten Hag? Yes, he is. He is coming. And before I wrap up the show tonight, of course, there is 2 comments that are brilliant. The first one's from my friend George. I need to go crazy with a pair of scissors shredding contracts off these players. Yes, and Ajmal, thank you so much. You've been a blessing tonight. You've been here since the very beginning, the same as you, Hella, of course. And George saying any player that is comfortable on the ball is more than welcome at United. Absolutely. 100% agree. Guys, we've been going over for nearly an hour and 10 minutes. It's been a pleasure having Sahbi from We Talk Ajax. Go and give them, as I've said before, subscribe on YouTube. Give them a follow as well on Twitter. And for ourselves, Talk of the Devils, there's Talk of the Devils channel, Talk of the Devils on Twitter, and of course talkofthedevils.co.uk, where we have like fantastic content. Sahbi, for anything else, any upcoming content for yourselves before we wrap up the show, like for yourself on your own channel coming this week?
Well, we today have our game talk where we discussed our game against the opponent NEC, and bad game, but we got the result. Points are all that matters, and we got still 4 finals to go. So hopefully, within certain weeks, we are league champions, and then Ten Hag is yours.
Absolutely, and at least unlike Spurs, at least you don't have somebody who in a cup final won't fail. Harry Kane, for example, doesn't know how to score in a cup final. At least you've got players that will score for you to get you over the final hurdle. Guys, this has been the Talking Devils podcast. Thanks for watching. And of course, Sahbi, it's been an absolute pleasure. Yeah. And of course, enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. And for more Talk of the Devils content, hit that bell notification. You will not want to miss out. Happy weekend, folks. See you later.